who's new here, I came up with the hypothesis, now turned theory, on the pathology of autism and the comorbidities. Essentially, autism is a result of gene mutations that cause a chronic stress response inside the body. And this stress response is prioritized over typical development and typical function in biochemically predictable ways. But this can also be expanded into neurodivergence as a whole, which is why I created neurodivergent biochemistry and created this chart that delineates everything into different phenotypes. Because each protein serves a very specific job and role on the conveyor belt system that is our biochemistry, you can track each trait down to a protein, a worker that's either doing his job well or isn't. And there are some proteins that act as a manager in multiple pathways, and that's how you can get traits to cluster. They can also cluster dependent on which type of stress response is activated, because that activates system-wide changes to pathways. And that's how I delineated my autism phenotypes. Side note, this is the part that Princeton took. Each one of those managers links up to a different set of autism traits or comorbid traits, things like POTS, MCAS, EDS, chronic fatigue. The manager responsible for the autism-specific traits would be the BH4 shunt, because it's needed for all of these pathways, and when it's shunted and diverted up, it goes towards something called glutamate, which controls the speed and intensity messages are sent in the brain. It specifically dysregulates something called the corticostriatothalamic loop. This is in charge of movement, habit formation, and reward, and it's known to be dysregulated in autistics. So the biomarkers, the levels of all of these things that have already been tested in autistics indicates that yes, glutamate is high, yes, the corticostriatothalamic loop is dysregulated, and then everything below the BH4 point is suppressed. That would be things like dopamine, serotonin, melatonin, the endocannabinoid system, and the immune system is dysregulated. So all the biomarkers there, check yes. This is the part the Brazilian researchers took. I've been doing very public breakdowns on my hypothesis, now turned theory, since May of 2023. I even wrote a book about it called Discovering Autism and the Comorbidities Along the BH4 Pathway, published September of 2023. And I self-published papers on ResearchGate. I love that it's open access. I love that anyone can see it. I love that it's not gatekept. I love that I can see the statistics of how many people around the world have opened it and from what institutions they're affiliated with and under what disciplines. I like personally getting that data instead of through a journal, so this is the way I've chosen to do it. Thing is, academia is a very pretentious bunch. And because I chose not to put it in one of their journals, they think it's fair game. It's not how it works. I very publicly made this my hypothesis.